Hey everybody, it's Jeremy here, and today I'd like to talk about the Democrats and left's new way to push their climate change agenda onto the population of the world and everybody in general. So, for those of you who have not heard yet, we a couple weeks ago, this 16-year-old girl named Greta Thunberg from Sweden just went on at the UN Young Climate Activist Summit, and she gained a lot of famousness around the world for standing up to the terrible Republicans and climate change deniers. And people are saying that people like her, the next generation, are going to be the leaders that change the world. And in the video we're about to watch, well, we'll see how she seems to have a lot of stuff prepared for her, but doesn't really elaborate on how she's actually going to start changing the environment for the better. So without further ado, we're gonna start off the video.
My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean.
Yeah, we're gonna stop right there and pause for a second. Yeah, my question is, why aren't you in school, Miss Thunberg? You are a 16-year-old at a UN panel, which is a great thing. Having young people that have 40, 50 years left in their life to start to change the world is a great thing. But we shouldn't have children, nearly a child, a 16-year-old, doesn't even have their driver's license yet, up speaking in front of delegates from countries around the world. We can't just sit back and let this happen. She has no credentials, and she's speaking, as we move forward in the video, of stuff that just doesn't make sense to the world. So let's restart it.
Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
So we're going to stop right there. For what she said, we're going to start at the beginning for that clip that I just unpaused from. She starts to go into like this kind of like motivational speaker tone, like, we can do this. If we put our minds together and work, we can make the next generation better. And in the video, she's just looking down at that script, which is understandable. She's 16 years old. You can't expect someone like that to, bring and memorize, 4 minutes of talking and in front of, hundreds of delegates from around the world. And it leads to this kind of like uninspired and unmotivated tone. She's just kind of talking like she's reading off a script, and she doesn't actually believe in what she's saying. And to the part, we're facing a global extinction event because it's warming up a little bit. That's not true. We have scientific evidence that global warming and climate change is a naturally occurring process. Looking back millions of years ago to Jurassic and Triassic period, where there was huge amounts of oxygen in trees, there was no pollution, there was no industry, there was no people here. That, the way she claims, and the way Democrats claim, that people and humans are the main cause of climate change. But the way the studies show, it has those periods where the humans don't exist yet, industry doesn't exist yet, and there's massive amounts of trees and oxygen being produced, that the climate, the CO2 emissions were the same as and worse than they are now. And then, millions of years down the road from the dinosaur ages, we come and have an ice age, a period of immense freezing. And after, decades of that, humans start to emerge in the basic forms. Obviously, we all know, we've all taken a geography and history class. And as we progress through evolution and industrialization, we find that, we're bringing up carbon. Sure, yeah, we're an industrialized society. China's industrialized. America's industrialized. And it's impossible to run our governments in countries the way we need to now as first world countries, and especially as America, as a defender of democracy and has this huge military presence and basically defends the entire world and brings our forces in to help struggling countries that are in midst of revolutions and terrorism, or bring supplies and medical aid to third world countries that are just being ravaged by disease and epidemics. And if the way the Democrats and especially Ms. Thunberg here are suggesting that we get rid of these carbon emissions and we get rid of our industrialization, how are we going to be able to help people? We aren't going to be able. What are we going to ship our the Red Cross supplies across the ocean on a sailboat? Take a couple weeks to months to get to Europe and march them over on horse and carriage? No, they're going to be destroyed, and our people that we're going to help are going to be dead by the time we get there. So we're going to go back into the video.
And all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight?
Alright, so we're going to stop there. So, as you can hear from the video, Miss Thunberg is complaining about the politics of the UN, the bureaucracies there, where more and more people our delegates are voting and trying to figure out ways to stop climate change and argue if we can even affect it in a measurable way to prevent it. Now, obviously, we're governments. Our governments, we're not some just a bunch of different independent villages and city-states where we can just, we're just gonna cut off all our cars. We're not gonna use cars. We're not gonna use gas. We're not gonna stop pumping oil. No, that's not how that works. We have a governmental system that requires us to pass laws and regulations on these things. And if, that's what makes our government so effective. We can't just have a democratic president that says, "Oh yeah, we're not gonna use cars to drill oil anymore." No, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna throw our oil rigs away. We're gonna lay off all those guys and women that are working on those and working in the process of refining oil. We're not gonna make any more automobiles or pipes or anything like that. We're not gonna eat cows. We're not gonna fly planes anymore. No, we're just gonna we're gonna use sailboats and horses again. Like the olden days. No, Congress, especially in America, Congress is going to oppose that and to pass regulations like that where we're restricting oil and restricting our carbon emissions, which is actually choking America. To be honest, we have like the 0.1% of the world's pollution. We're using our resources to help eliminate pollution. The Chinese and the Indians and the Asian countries that have no concern for the amount of pollution they're putting out and the just amount of people in their industry, we don't have that much pollution in the grand scale of the world. It's the Chinese, the Russians, all those Asian and European countries that have no causation and realization that they're gonna do what they're doing. They don't care. They're producing their iPhones and everything like that. And am I saying that's a bad thing? No. But Miss Thornburg here, she's lecturing, especially to the Americans. This is basically used in America as a rallying cry for the Democrats. Oh, screw the Republicans. They're terrible. They're this, they're that. They're anti-con. They're anti-you. They don't care about you. They want you all to die. They don't care. They'll be dead in 30 years. They don't care. They just want to care about now. But we can't. And if anything, the Republicans are doing a lot more than the Democrats, proposing these idiotic bills like AOC's Green New Deal, where it's eliminating cows and planes and stuff like that. It's just not feasible the way they do, and stuff like us. And they're suggesting, use electric cars and stuff like that. But when you look at stuff like between oil fracking and mining for the lithium for your car battery, the scale of what happens to the environment in between these two things is hugely differential. Like I was driving through Indiana Saturday, and I saw in some guy's front yard a little oil drill. You know what I saw around it? A pasture full of cows and grass and trees. Now, you see that and it's like, wow. It's like oil is a minimum, drilling for oil and oil-related products is, a minimally invasive process. You can still have, farmland and trees and an entire ecosystem while you're still drilling for oil and getting that oil. But when you see lithium mines in Africa, in the Middle East, all you see is this destroyed environment, completely stripped of its ecosystem and natural resources. So we can come back in the video.
You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control.
Alright, so what she's going to go on in this, it's like 30 seconds to a minute of her speech, is talking about, if we just cut our emissions by half, it's only going to give us 15 years, 20 years, something like that. And we're still gonna have the possibility, a high possibility, of irreversible climate change. It's like, really? Really? Obviously, this kid is emotionally passionate about it. Everybody's passionate about something. For me, it's instruments and politics. For her, it's climate change. I can admire that. She's, boisterous, charismatic, and she's on the UN stage voicing her opinion. However, it's to the point where you need to research. She has no degrees in science, biology, chemistry, geology. She doesn't know. The most work she does is looking up on Google, probably. Now, even on Google, I could probably find 10 different sources refuting her points. And just because of this, she's using these emotional words like irreversible climate change. If we don't cut our emissions by 50%, we have a high chance of still destroying our planet and causing this destruction of our home. It's like, no, you're stupid, kid. It's because of people like you that we just happen to be in a culture of where Democrats and Republicans will not work together on climate change, because the Democrats have this narrative and agenda to push against everything industrialized and engines and oil and fracking and all this equipment and jobs that help us get industrial advancements and generate cleaner coal and generate cleaner oil and less invasive mining practices. But stuff like lithium and windmills and aqueducts that destroy ecosystems. And windmills, they'll kill, migrating birds and endangered birds. They'll get cut up in the windmills. And it's just insane to think about that way. And with the process of renewable resources like solar and wind, we can just look to Germany, which is 100%, or as close to 100% as you can get, use of wind and electric, and you'll see that they have periods of immense power surplus. We'll have to start selling off power to other countries because they can't use it all in the time, and it's being stored. And then you have a rolling blackouts where they don't have enough power at all and kept in storage for their population to use and keep up an industrialized society like that. And that's a problem with renewable resources like wind and solar. We just don't have enough. There's not enough that you can produce. It's not efficient enough to help an industrialized society grow and become more powerful and help other struggling regions of the world. Like, as we see in Africa, countries aren't, like Zimbabwe and Nicaragua aren't going and set to the UN, hey, we want clean energy. We want some solar panels and wind turbines in our countries to help us with power. No, they want oil and gas and resources like that, because that provides a way for them to become industrialized nations and get on that poverty-stricken culture that they have been in for the last 100 years. So I skipped just ahead of that whole part about emissions and stuff, because that basically needs to be talked about that.
Sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today, that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years.
Now, when she goes on, she's been saying, that we can't continue with our business as usual, and we have to install monumental changes to our economies so we can, produce, live past 8.5 years. Now the thing is, like I said at the beginning of the video, climate change is a natural thing. It's gonna go up and down, and there's no significant thing that humans can do about it. Like, the climate has been changing. There's been ice age and times of massive high temperatures and ecosystems, especially back in Jurassic and prehistoric times. But it seems like now Democrats and people like Greta Thunberg are forgetting like that. As you see stuff like this, and you see them saying, we have to do this, and we have to do that. No, we don't. There's nothing that a human being in our 100-year lifespan is going to be able to do to produce equipment to reduce the amount of carbon emissions, and a significant amount that's even gonna comparative to help the economy or the ecosystem result from their global warming.
There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable, and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is.
Now, what she goes on to say here is that she is basically insulting this Climate Action Summit, which is full of delegates and scientists from around the world. And as we heard a couple seconds ago, she said, "You guys aren't mature enough. I know you're like delegates from countries, and you got doctorates in scientific degrees, and you're published journals, but you're not mature enough. You're not mature. Leave it to us kids. You're pushing it on to us. We're gonna be the ones to change the world, not you guys. And you're not gonna vote on anything that contributes meaningful to helping the ecosystem recover from our terrible industrialization or capitalist ways." And toward the end of the video, she pretty much just reiterates what she said. But I'm gonna pull up one thing. Now, there's this man named Boyan Slat. I may be butchering that name, but he is actually doing something for the climate change and the ecosystem. He's 23 years old, and he invented the world's first plastic cleanup system for the ocean at age 16, the same age that Greta Thunberg is when she's talking about climate change. And she produces and unlike Mr. Slot, Ms. Thunberg doesn't present any solutions. She just basically calls out everybody sitting in that crowd that they're terrible, they don't have any respect in the environment, they don't care if anything gets done. Now, Mr. Slot is developing some advanced technology to rid the oceans of plastic. And you can see like the kind of difference in the ability of the media in seeing this. You see Greta Thunberg, she's been on CNN, she's got MSNBC, Embassy, and she's getting all these media coverage and everything, and she's not presenting anything. She's just talking about, she's bashing Republicans and UN delegates saying, "Oh, you don't care about the environment." Well, Mr. Slot is actually doing something about the world. And comparative to Ms. Thunberg, whose idea is just to destroy the entire world's economy and industrialization and bring us back into the 5th century, Mr. Slot is using the industrialization and the economy of the world to build these amazing products that are actually helping the world get clean. Now, there's one thing, the last thing I want to cover in this video is the Nobel Peace Prize. This prestigious award developed for and given to these people that actually make a difference in the world. And guess who is predicted to win that award? Miss Greta Thunberg, the little 16-year-old girl who's done nothing for the world. All she did was, stand up and give, a speech, It's emotional. She's got a lot of courage to stand up in front of those delegates and those scientists and talk about this issue that she has not a lot of experience on, to be fair. But the thing I don't agree with is at all. She is this, young child. Now, she's predicted to win. Now let me tell you about some of the other men and women that are nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, the Ethiopian Prime Minister. He ended a 20-year conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea. This war has been going on since 1998, and 70,000 people have been killed during this conflict. Now, when Mr. Abiy Ahmed took office in April, he freed the political prisoners and signed a peace agreement with their Eritrean counterparts. And that basically ended a 20-year conflict over a border dispute. And he handed over land. And in addition to this, he's championed the role of women in politics, which is an incredibly liberal idea for someone in charge of an African government. Especially when you think about the rest of the Middle East and Africa that has very traditional roles for women, and they don't have they have rights at all. Now the final in another group, an organization that has been nominated is Reporters Without Borders. This, in my opinion, is a very good organization. They help find truth in these countries that and send out media in these countries like Saudi Arabia and North Korea that censor media and make women think and just destroy women's ideas and don't promote free speech and freedom of the press. This Reporters Without Borders is one of the top journalism, in my opinion, because they actually try to help find these sources and help people learn about what democracy is all about. Now, of these three, I really hope that Greta Thunberg does not win this. She does not deserve it. She isn't worthy of it. She hasn't done anything to reward her with the Nobel Peace Prize. And if she won it, she would upset Malia, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014. And she was the girl that stood up to her oppressive government and learned to read and write and go to school. And she was killed in a terroristic bombing in the Middle East. And this... Oh, forgive me, she wasn't killed. She stood up to everything her government and her culture was against. Her reading, her writing, her going to education. She is, if she is observed as the youngest person to receive the Global Nobel Peace Prize by Greta Thunberg, I've lost all hope in that organization, because you just can't compare these two people. You have one, Ms. Thunberg, who has done nothing except give a speech and propose no solutions to the problem, or people like Mr. Ahmed, who has ended a 20-year conflict that resulted in the death of 70,000 people. As we progress, we have to think about, and we can't just use and trust children for politics. They know nothing about politics. like a year or so ago when the left was using David Hogg as a spokesman for gun control just because he went through a terrible thing, a terrible event, disgusting people in the Parkland shooting. And I have no doubt it was a traumatizing event and everything about it was terrible. But just because you go through a traumatizing event or you're very passionate about a subject doesn't mean you should speak about it on a global scale and propose solutions to something you have no experience in regulating or have no idea what it is even about and why certain things occur like they do. Thank you guys for watching. And just before I end this video, I'd like to take a moment for you guys to like and subscribe this video. Some daily political news and just a little more global news and some mostly American news probably. But thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe and leave a comment on what kind of issue you'd like me to see cover next. Thank you.